As ISC 2 places professional ethics as the first objective in the first domain of the CISSP exam requirements, this indicates the importance of ethics and ethical behavior in cybersecurity profession. The first part of this exam objective covers the core ethical requirements from ISC 2 itself. The second part of the objective reviews other sources of professional ethics that guide your conduct, such as those from industry or professional organizations. First, let's look at the ISC 2 Code of Ethics. The continuing increases in network breaches, data loss, and ransomware demonstrate the criticality of ethical conduct in this expanding information security landscape. Our information systems security workforce is expanding at a rapid pace, and these new recruits need to understand the professional discipline required to succeed. Some may enter the field because they expect to make a lot of money, but ultimately competence, integrity, and trustworthiness are the qualities necessary for success. Most professions have published standards for ethical behavior, such as healthcare, law enforcement, accounting, and many other professions. In fact, you would be hard-pressed to find a profession that does not have at least some type of minimal ethical requirements for professional conduct. While Exam Objective 1.1 is the only objective that explicitly covers ethics and professional conduct, it's important to emphasize them, since you will be expected to know them on the exam and, more importantly, you will be expected to uphold them to maintain your CISSP status. In absence of any other ethical standards that you may also be required to uphold in your profession, from your organization, your customers, and even any other certifications you hold, the ISC 2 Code of Ethics should be sufficient to guide you in ethical behavior and professional conduct while you are employed as an information systems security professional for as long as you hold the CISSP certification. The ISC 2 Code of Ethics, located on the ISC 2 website at ISC 2, consists of a preamble and 4 mandatory canons. Additionally, the web page includes a comprehensive set of ethics complaint procedures for filing ethics complaints against certified members. The complaint procedures are designed to detail how someone might formally accuse a certified member of violating one or more of the 4 canons. ISC 2 updates the Code of Ethics from time to time, so it is best to occasionally go to the ISC 2 website and review it for any changes. This allows you to keep up with current requirements and serves to remind you of your ethical and professional responsibilities. The Code of Ethics preamble simply states that people who are bound to the code must adhere to the highest ethical standards of behavior, and that the code is a condition of certification. Per the ISC 2 site, ISC 2, the preamble states, at the time of writing, the safety and welfare of society and the common good, duty to our principles, and to each other, requires that we adhere, and be seen to adhere, to the highest ethical standards of behavior. Therefore, strict adherence to this code is a condition of certification. The Code of Ethics canons dictate the more specific requirements that certification holders must obey. According to the ethics complaint procedures detailed by ISC 2, violation of any of these canons is grounds for the certificate holder have their certification revoked. The canons are as follows. 1. Protect society, the common good, necessary public trust and confidence, and the infrastructure. 2. Act honorably, honestly, justly, responsibly, and legally. 3. Provide diligent and competent service to principals. 4. Advance and protect the profession. These canons are intentionally broad and, unfortunately, someone could construe them to fit almost any type of act by a CISSP, accidental or malicious, into one of these categories. However, the ethics complaint procedures specify a burden of proof involved with making a complaint against the certification holder for violation of these canons. The complaint procedures, set forth in the Standing of Complainant section, specify that complaints will be accepted only from those who claim to be injured by the alleged behavior. Anyone with knowledge of a breach of canons 1 or the 2 may file a complaint against someone, but only principals, which are employers or customers of the certificate holder, can lodge a complaint about any violation of Canon 3, and only other certified professionals may register complaints about violations of Canon 4. Also, according to the ethics complaint procedures, the complaint goes before an ethics committee, which hears complaints of breaches of the Code of Ethics canons, and makes a recommendation to the board. But the board ultimately makes decisions regarding the validity of complaints, as well as levies the final disciplinary action against the member, if warranted. A person who has had an ethics complaint lodged against them under these 4 canons has a right to respond and comment on the allegations, as there are sound due process procedures built into this process. CISSP 2 updates the Code of Ethics from time to time, so it is best to occasionally go to the CISSP 2 website and review it for any changes. This allows you to keep up with current requirements and serves to remind you of your ethical and professional responsibilities. The second part of exam objective 1.1 encompasses organizational standards and codes of ethics. Most organizations today have some minimal form of a code of ethics, professional standards, or behavioral requirements that you must obey to be a member of that organization. Organization, in this context, means professional organizations, your workplace, your customer organization, or any other formal, organized body to which you belong or are employed by. Whether you are a government employee or a private contractor, whether you work for a volunteer agency or work in a commercial setting, you're likely required to adhere to some type of organizational code of ethics. Let's examine some of the core requirements most organizational codes of ethics have in common. Codes of ethics in the workplace may or may not be documented. Often there is no formalized, explicit code of ethics document published by the organization, although that may not be the case, especially in large or publicly traded corporations. More often than not, the requirements for ethical or professional behavior are stated as a policy or group of policies that apply not only to the security professionals in the organization but to every employee. For example, there are usually policies that cover the topics of acceptable use of organizational IT assets, personal behavior toward others, sexual harassment and bullying, bribery, gifts from external parties, and so on. Combined, these policies cover the wide range of professional behavior expectations. These policies may be sponsored and monitored by the Human Resources Department and are likely found in the organization's employee handbook. For the organizations that have explicit professional ethics documents, these usually describe general statements that are not specific to IT or cybersecurity professionals and direct the employee to behave ethically and professionally in all matters. Although not directly testable by the CISSP exam, it's worth noting that there are other sources for ethics requirements for technology professionals in general and cybersecurity professionals in particular. All of these sources contain similar requirements to act in a professional, honest manner while protecting the interests of customers, employers, and other stakeholders, as well as maintain professional integrity and work toward the good of society. The following slides describe several sources of professional ethics standards to give you an idea of how important ethics and professional behavior are across the wide spectrum of not only cybersecurity but technology in general. The Computer Ethics Institute, CEI, is a nonprofit policy, education, and research group founded to promote the study of technology ethics. Its membership includes several technology-related organizations and prominent technologists, and it is positioned as a forum for public discussion on a variety of topics affecting the integration of technology and society. The most well-known of its efforts is the development of the 10 Commandments of Computer Ethics, which has been used as the basis of several professional codes of ethics and behavior documents, among them the CISSP 2 Code of Ethics. The 10 Commandments of Computer Ethics, presented here from the CEI website, are as follows. 1. Thou shalt not use a computer to harm other people. 2. Thou shalt not interfere with other people's computer work. 3. Thou shalt not snoop around in other people's computer files. 4. Thou shalt not use a computer to steal. 5. Thou shalt not use a computer to bear false witness. 6. Thou shalt not copy or use proprietary software for which you have not paid. 7. Thou shalt not use other people's computer resources without authorization or proper compensation. 8. Thou shalt not appropriate other people's intellectual output. 9. Thou shalt think about the social consequences of the program you are writing or the system you are designing. 10. Thou shalt always use a computer in ways that ensure consideration and respect for your fellow humans. The Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE, published a professional code of ethics designed to promulgate ethical behaviors among technology professionals. Although the IEEE Code of Ethics does not specifically target cybersecurity professionals, its principles similarly promote the professional and ethical behaviors of other technology professionals and is similar in requirements to the CISSP Code of Ethics. The more important points of the IEEE Code of Ethics are summarized as follows. Uphold high standards of integrity, responsible behavior, and ethical conduct in professional activities. Hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public. Avoid real or perceived conflicts of interest. Avoid unlawful conduct. Treat all persons fairly and with respect. Ensure the code is upheld by colleagues and coworkers. As you can see, these points are directly aligned with the ISC2 Code of Ethics and, as with many codes of conduct, offer no conflict with other codes that members may be subject to. In fact, since codes of ethics and professional behavior are often similar, they support and serve to strengthen the requirements levied on various individuals. There also are standards that are imposed as part of regulatory requirements that cover how technology professionals will comport themselves. Some of these standards don't specifically target cybersecurity professionals per se, but they do prescribe ethical behaviors with regard to data protection, for example, and apply to organizations and personnel alike. Almost all data protection regulations, such as the EU's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, the U.S. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, publications, the Code of Ethics requirements spelled out in Section 406 of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, and countless other laws and regulations, describe the actions that users and personnel with privileged access to sensitive data must take to protect that data from a legal and ethical perspective in order to comply with security, privacy, and other governance requirements. In this objective, we focused on one of the more important objectives for the CISSP exam, one that's often overlooked in exam prep. We discussed codes of ethics, which are requirements intended to guide our professional behavior. We specifically examined the ISC2 Code of Ethics, as that is the most relevant to the exam. The Code of Ethics consists of a preamble and 4 mandatory canons. ISC2 also has a comprehensive set of complaint procedures for ethics complaints against certified members. The complaint procedures detail the process for formally accusing a certified member of violating one or more of the 4 canons, while ensuring a fair and impartial due process for the accused. We also examined organizational ethics and discussed how some organizations may not have a formalized code of ethics document, but their ethical or professional behavior expectations may be contained in their policies. These are usually found in policies such as acceptable use, acceptance of gifts, bribery, and other types of policies. Most of the policies that affect professional behavior for employees are typically found in the employee handbook. Finally, we discussed other sources of professional ethics, from professional organizations and governance requirements that may define how to protect certain sensitive data classifications. Absent any other core ethics document that prescribes professional behavior, the ISC2 Code of Ethics is mandatory for CISSP certification holders and should be used to guide their behavior.